Welcome back, guys. This is day 12. Let's just jump on straight into the game and get started. Our opponent is from Bulgaria. We'll play our normal 1d4 opening. I see we've got another 1300 rated opponent called Enfuth today. I want to learn the Queen's Gambit accepted, but prior to learning it, I won't want to risk getting into the lines I don't know here, because I don't know how to respond to 1b5. We'll just play our knight up and play solidly. They play this move. So our opponent seems to be playing in a London-esque setup, perhaps. We'll just play like this, I think, or we might as well get our bishop out. I think we'll do this, actually. Our opponent has got several moves right now, I think. They play c5. Okay. This is not a free pawn, at least, because we can't hold on to it immediately. This might be a move, but that's too passive, I think. How about this move? Then if they capture... No, I'm not liking that move. I think this might actually be the move. And if they capture... we could go like this even. Hit the bishop with a tempo. They just develop normally. And we could maybe look into getting our bishop here. Or getting our bishop into the game here, rather, by pinning. Alternatively, we've got this move, which I think I'm preferring, actually. This is a pretty mirrored setup, but after this and this, I think we'll break this symmetry to a certain degree and castle. Or get castled, rather. Or we could play this move first, I think. Because now this pawn is pretty pressured, and they would have to play up like this, I think, to defend it. Or they could capture, perhaps. They could also snap capture, capture like this, and then they could look into defending their pawn afterwards. They play like this, and I think we've got this move here. It's a pretty normal kind of response in this position, or similar positions at least. But the issue here is if we go like this, they could capture here. This doesn't seem all that good, perhaps. It doesn't really seem too bad. So we'll go for it, actually. Now we're exerting a lot of pressure here as well. They develop. And here we might have this move. If they capture, we've got this fork. And their bishop would be undefended. but our rook might be pressured as well. I think, how about starting out like this and then capturing here? I think I like this move better, because our opponent could always play like this. And I don't really like the following position as much. So we'll capture like this, and then we'll capture in this direction. And here I don't really think our opponent could capture here either, because these two pawns here would be really awkward to defend or hold on to at all. This knight seems a bit awkward, so we'll just go ahead and pin it. And we might follow up with this kind of a move, which I'm actually liking quite a lot, because after this response here, I just realized this knight rather is defended. But how about this move? This seems to force an awkward response by our opponent. Or we could perhaps look at this move, because how would our opponent defend the pawn here? They would have to play. They could play this move. So I think this might be better. Exerting pressure here. And they would probably have to defend with I'm curious here as to which move is best. I really want to hit this knight as well to pick up this pawn. I don't think we have this move. It just helps our opponent. So what happens here? I think I like this better. And now our opponent has to respond, probably by dropping back here or defending like this. But this is a really passive move. So I'm expecting this move. Or if our opponent rather at some point moves their knight from this square, we capture here. I want to look at this move, because if they castle, we push like this maybe. They can't capture, so they would have to drop back. Maybe like this. Then we could push up even further for an attack here. And their knight would have to move. Maybe like this. We could jump in like this, hitting this as well. This seems to be a bit risky because it's very confrontational. But I think I like the position that we might have here, and we might castle like this. I think it might be our first queenside castle in this journey actually. So now we have to make a decision. We don't want to play this move probably. That's probably not a good idea, but hitting the knight is probably not too bad. I think we'll go for this. And let's see what our opponent plays. They jump in. And this is not really a threat, I think. Well, they could hit this pawn, actually. So let's take a look at this. This doesn't work because of this. And after we capture here, if they go like... Oh, never mind. This was why we were dislodging this knight, of course. And then we threatened this undefended bishop, or soon to be undefended. Yeah, let's just jump in like this, I think. Our opponent has to respond here. They might capture like this, but then we have this move here, which would be followed by a fork. We probably want to get castled as soon as possible as well. They captured here. And now we have this move, which our opponent might have just missed. Let's look. Here. They have to move here. Then we either capture the rook or recapture over here, but I think the rook is better. This knight doesn't have any good jumps, I think. This gets hit by our bishop, and this move is a check, which disallows us from castling. Oh, our opponent resigned. Okay, so that's a win for today as well. Thank you a lot for the game info, and let's jump into the analysis. This brings us up to 1340 ELO. Today we played with a bit of a lower accuracy than we used to, 79.1, but this was a messy game, which shows in our opponent's accuracy as well, 61.4. We had a very, very tactical position with lots of different key sequences each way we could capture in, and I'm curious to see whether we blundered at some point to the point where our opponent could have won the game as well here. We got to this point, and apparently we should have played this move here. I guess this is probably theory. After this, what happens if they play this move? We would have captured, they would have went like this, and knight to c3. That's a really cold-hearted move, because if they take here, then we get their queen. Okay, but we went up like this. And moved up. We should have apparently captured here. Let's double check this. This seems to be pretty good because of this pin. And then we would get to castle pretty quickly, while our opponent is several moves away from doing so themselves. Okay. Apparently our opponent blundered here. Yeah, because we should have just taken like this. And if this... I think I was looking at this, but I didn't notice in this position they have this fork. Well, either way, we missed that, and our opponent moved up, we captured, and we went in like this. Our opponent captured like this, and we pinned the knight and moved our knight up like this. Apparently this move was pretty decent as well. Both the moves we looked at were in fact. This move here seemed to be a bit blessed at some point, but not at the deeper analysis. This seems to have been a mistake, because we missed a very interesting idea here. This was a pretty cold-hearted move as well, because our opponent wouldn't have any good ways of defending their pawn. If they move back like this, then this is just a free pawn and doesn't work out in their favor. We started an attack like this instead. We pushed up, and here our opponent played an incorrect move, and after this move here, the game was essentially over. I thought our opponent might have had some playing chances here, but the evaluation is incredibly cold-hearted and says this is just essentially over without any counterplay, it seems. Well, that's our game for today at least. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye bye!